Robert M. Gordon. I'm a PhD. I have a board certification in clinical psychology, and I also am board certified as a psychoanalyst, and I also have a specialty in forensic psychology. It may seem strange because I know when you're thinking of a career, to put it in a simple category, one of the things I really love about psychology is I know I wanted to study human behavior and human experience. I thought it was fascinating. And I'm doing this about 40 years now. And when I get up in the morning, I'm excited about what I do. And then I'll be introduced to a new area, and I'll get training and supervision in that and open up a new specialty like forensic psychology. After working with patients and couples for a number of years, I wanted to go deeper. So I realized things in their temperament, things from their early attachments and childhood experiences affect their intimacy. And the best way to do that was to study psychoanalysis. So I know after you get your degree, you want to make money and get out there. And then after a certain point, you might get fascinated in something. And that's what's so wonderful about the field of psychology. It's so broad that if later on you want to specialize in something like psychoanalysis or forensic psychology, you can do that with additional supervision and training. Each area enriches the other area. I'm a better forensic psychologist because I can understand the mind a lot more deeply. What's my typical day like? Well, I love that it's varied. I could be doing counseling, where I'm giving advice or support. I could be doing couples therapy, family therapy, psychoanalysis, where you see the couch here. It may seem strange to you. A little experiment you can do. Look at your friend's face and ask how many doorknobs you have in your home or your apartment. And where they were looking at you, watch their eyes divert from you. It's called defocusing. Because to get that answer has nothing to do with what's on your face, but they have to self-reflect and count the doors and multiply by 2. When a person wants to get deeper into therapy, it's not about getting answers from you, but it's about remembering things from their past, their dreams, their inner mental life, and they get to know themselves a lot deeper, and that's the reason for using the couch. And that is fascinating. It's really, really interesting when somebody brings you a dream, and the dream is like a hologram of all their unresolved conflicts, and the person's fascinated by that. So that's part of my day, doing various levels of psychotherapy. And then I might have a psychological testing. An attorney might say, gee, we have a guy in prison, and he thinks that his wife is somebody who's been replicated by an alien, and he just robbed a bank, and he may be insane. Would you go and test him? Now, what a forensic psychologist does is may inform the court things beyond the knowledge of the judge and the jury. And that makes you evidence. Actually, an expert witness is a form of evidence. Not everyone could go in and just give an opinion. Because of your training and your experience, you can give an expert opinion and really educate the court about what is insanity. Does this person really understand the wrongness of their act? Constitutionally, the person can't be tried with a crime. The person doesn't even realize that it's a crime. And this is some of the interesting things you do. Most states have it that teenagers can't be tried as an adult unless they use a weapon. But maybe the teenager was forced to use a weapon. Maybe that was part of joining a gang, and the kid is in a psychopath and could be rehabilitated, and you could explain to the court this adolescent is better off with treatment, and that benefits society and this adolescent. They're called decertification hearings. And there's a lot of areas that a forensic psychologist can use the deep knowledge of personality and diagnosis and psychological assessment to help the courts. And being a psychotherapist could really help you with that deep understanding. And being a psychoanalyst helps you to understand people even more deeply. So I'm never sure what the day may bring, but it's fascinating in terms of psychological assessment, in terms of doing psychotherapy, in terms of doing forensic psychology. And again, when you're thinking of entering this field, you want to have a broad background and understanding of the human mind. Then later on, as you go through your career, you could begin to specialize more and more. It is interesting, but like many things in life, it's hard, not impossible. I think when I was an undergrad and I was deciding to be a psychologist, I heard at that time you had to have a doctorate. I got my PhD. For how long does that take? And I feel like I'm sick of school. I don't want to go for another 5 or 6 years. But you have a spirit of the core, you have other students with you. It's fascinating. It's a great journey, and it's something that once you get your degree, no one could ever take away from you. So yes, it's a long haul. To be a psychologist, it is basically a doctoral level position. There are master's positions, but mainly it's a doctoral level position like you would experience in medicine and a lot of other fields. There's a PhD, which is more research oriented. There's a PsyD, which is more applied oriented. There's two main doctorates, and it means you're going to have to do a dissertation, which is research. You'll be guided by a mentor, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very, very interesting and very rewarding. You'll be asked to do an internship where you work with mentors and you get real life experiences instead of just classroom experiences. And then there's always usually a 1 year postdoc experience after you get your degree, before you get your license. You get that experience, and then you sit for your license, as most professions, and then you could practice in a corporation, or you could practice as I do independently. It's like having your own business, and you give a lot of flexibility there. You might not go into private practice right away, but you may work for somebody else and then decide in terms of where you want to go. But it's a field that gives you a lot of flexibility. What's the best and worst parts of the job? One of the best is, like I said, I'm doing this 40 years. Many of my friends that are like physicians, surgeons, they're sick of it. They want to retire. I have friends in their 80s, and they still love this work. It's not just interesting; it's meaningful work. You're really profoundly helping people out, and that's very, very rewarding. And at the end of the day, you really feel good about it. What's tough? Sometimes you deal with some tough people, and it's okay to set limits on them and say, if you treat me like that, I'm not going to treat you. You're allowed to do that as long as you know how to set limits. You feel more comfortable. It's really important to get your own therapy. If you're going to be a therapist, get your own insight therapy. Whether you do insight therapy or not, things get stirred up in this field. So it's really helpful to get your own insight therapy. Final advice. I don't give advice when I'm a psychoanalyst. No, I'm joking. Final advice, talk to somebody in the field. Actually, you get to sit down with somebody. I get high school students coming to me, and I like talking to them. So if you can, go talk to a professional about what it's like to be in this field.